back to the manor. He limped back to the manor. And he let everyone back at the manor know that you guys are gone.
To kick some ass.
I would say so. Okay, so if you flag down a sky coach, you totally can. It'll be, I believe, 5 silver.
Guys, we need to come up with a plan of attack when we get there. Didn't y'all get a necklace of fireballs earlier? I say
What are
we
you
kick in
talking
the
about?
front door.
Did we identify it?
I don't know. I was just going off of the fact that I saw it on my screen said necklace of fireballs. I'm assuming y'all did.
No, I haven't yet.
Oh, well, never mind. Why don't we just kick in the door and go, "What's good, bitches?" and see who jumps up and tries to run away. Then we'll beat that person until they make sense.
Takes you about half that amount of time to get to flagging down a sky coach and flying off towards the upper north edge section of the city, which I will share with you.
Zara's with us, correct?
If you guys waited for her, then she is with you.
I say we wait for her if we're not taking any different means of transportation.
And I will share a map with you guys. So, the ward of Upper North Edge, you would all know, is mostly wealthy residential. And there's a section called Shai Lias, which is an elven district. And it's absolutely filled with beautiful sculptures of long dead elves. And the manor in which you are currently looking for is within Oak Towers. Dead center in the middle of the section. We'll just say that... Well, that's just a representation of the towers. Those geometric shapes are essentially gigantic towers and blocky either circular in pattern or other geometric shapes in pattern. And then the little black bars are essentially gigantic connecting bridges that connect each of the towers on this uppermost level of the city. So my question to all of you is, what would you like to do?
Are we outside?
We'll have Samuel break down the doors like the Popo.
Well, you know that Grelhun Manor is within Oak Towers. You do not, however, know exactly where.
We'll break down all the doors, right? Right, Samuel? That's how we do it, right?
That's how I want to do it. But why don't we send somebody less conspicuous forward first? Why don't we send Nick and Zara out there and let them ask some questions? And we'll see if anybody starts taking interest in them. Byron can watch your backs. If anybody takes interest and starts following them, then we grab that person and beat them until they make sense.
That sounds good.
Yeah, Nick, Zara, just go around blindly asking really blatantly obvious questions, and we'll see who comes after you.
Or if we see a human that's limping and burned up.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what. Who wants to make a perception check?
I'll
Semi
make a
out.
perception check.
Everyone.
Too late. Somehow did it.
So, Samael, after the majority of your group exit and pay the kind sky coach driver, the sky coach lifts up into the air and travels off, zips off, and passing down the beautiful, absolutely gorgeous streets, ever bright lanterns equidistant everywhere. Gold filigree, silver, platinum banners flying. You see enormous manor houses all spread throughout the area. And you see very well-dressed individuals walking through. And a few of them seem to be rushing away from a little side alley along the side of one of the large estates.
Excuse me, when we were flying for the 30 minutes or whatever, did the sky coach know where this place was?
You can say that you asked them if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah, he landed you actually within the area that's directly adjacent to that manor.
Did he point to the building?
He did.
There we go.
His name was Percival, and Percival said, "Oh, absolutely. I've seen it many times before. The Grailhuns are a bit stingy. They don't really use the services of a sky coach. They've high walls. They're very private individuals." And he just went off and on and on and on about the Grailhuns, talking about how they had a daughter who was estranged, and she ran away to a distant land and never came back. And do you all go to investigate this hustle and bustle, the crowd outside of the manor?
Yes.
Okay. Walking around the corner, you see the very familiar sign of Mr. R's Sky Carriage with a broken wheel wedged up against the side of this dividing wall on the side of this estate. And you can see the crowd is sort of, a few people are walking up to the Pegasi, and they're trying to calm the individuals, and this guy just gets kicked right in the nuts by one of the front legs of Sassafras.
Byron, you think you can calm them down?
Let's grab the guy. Let's talk to him. Throw him in the coach and let's talk to him inside the coach.
Byron.
Yeah,
I
I
realize
may be able to
Byron's gone.
I may be able to calm them down, but
Oh, there you are.
Make them shrink or anything?
Yeah, but don't. Let's talk to this guy who stole it. Let's throw him in the coach and talk to him.
Nicholas, there's people all around. Do you plan to throw every single person around the carriage right now into it and talk to them?
I like this idea.
No, it's
Put
the
them in
one.
there and shake them until one of them spills their guts.
I'm talking about the one guy that got kicked in the balls.
You mean the guy that's trying to calm them down because they're kind of like crashed there?
Wait, I don't know. Does he look like he's trying to calm him down, or is he the one that stole it?
He doesn't appear to have the trappings or outfit of what was described to you from Mr. R, and also what Siegfried relayed to you from what he saw from Fala, the herbalist. This gentleman looks to be a very finely dressed, not armored, and he is currently bent over in pain, heaving, nearly looks like he's about to throw up. And he is currently cupping his lower regions.
I'll approach the...
Sassafras, what are you doing?
And the horses, both Winnie and Nicker, as they look at you approaching, they begin to calm down. Just from knowing all of you, being around you several times, their demeanor appears to calm down a little bit. They're still sort of nervous, and their legs are kind of like stomping back and forth, and they're both still attached to the Sky Carriage. In fact, the reins are like twisted. Almost looks like at some point in time, the two of them switch positions. So the reins are now crisscross, which are attached to their gilding.
Let me know if we need him to again. I'll hit him with a fear effect.
Sassafras, can you two shrink down? Mr. R's okay, but he's at home resting. Can you shrink down so he can carry you with you to make sure you don't get hurt?
The Pegasus both look at you, sort of stupidly, like, and just sort of blow air out, little raspberries
like
at you.
They Siegfried was like a button or a lever.
No, I think he like snapped his fingers, and Siegfried snaps his fingers, and they shrunk down. But it may be a magic connected to him.
And the people are now sort of milling about, and the crowd is starting to disperse now. And
Siegfried goes to
what
help
looks
the guy
like-
up that got kicked in the nuts real quick.
you all hear, as you begin to assist the gentleman, he's like, "Oh, my lower regions. Oh, that was terrible. Oh, curse you, heathen. Oh, heathen horse."
Siegfried slowly helps him. I was like, "We're so sorry. Someone actually stole the sky coach, so they're a bit mailed up, and I know that's not an apology for what just happened to you, but we have a cleric over there that may be able to help you a bit with the pain."
Oh.
Yes, I can do that.
Oh, it was terrible. Oh, horrible.
I can give you an herb that you can rub on it.
I think a magic
For 50 gold.
aura.
Did you just say for 50 gold?
Yeah.
The man now
I give
is...
Nick
He straightens up a bit, and he's, "Oh, I'll be all right. It's merely a flesh wound. Oh, and that thing kicks hard. Oh, what do you know about this carriage? Is this your carriage?"
It's our friends, a privately employed almost warforged that we have, but the problem is we got attacked and they kind of jumped him in an alleyway and left him unconscious and took the carriage here.
Well, that's,
So we're here looking for the people that attacked us, and
my
we
word,
found the
that's
carriage.
terrible. And you should probably report that to the watch.
we already have. We're just a bit faster than the watch, and that gentleman over there is actually a junior inquisitor.
Oh, well, in that case, I leave you to it, sir. I'm gonna go put something cold, compress of some sort on this. I'll leave you to it. And he begins sort of awkwardly, John Wayne cowboy style, walking away from you all.
Siegfried wipes a tear from his eye. Man is a hero.
Zito tries to untangle the Pegasus's reins and try and calm them.
Okay, they are much taller than you, so you'd have to crawl onto the actual back of one of them to reach their harnesses.
Is there any entrances to the manor from here? And are there any windows? And is anyone watching?
You see very tall stone walls, which are topped with spikes, and you see a large entryway, very large door on one side, the northern side of the compound. Okay, Zito, you're able to very deftly climb on top of Sassafras, and you can get to the bindings. Roll an animal handling check. Sassafras bucks, flaps his wings, and you go flying off of his back. And-
Siegfried tries to
Okay, making a dexterity, an acrobatics check there, Siegfried. He flies into you and beans you, and the two of you both fall on your ass.
Thanks for cushioning my fall, Sig.
Good. I'm just glad you're so small. Wow.
I don't think this manor is going anywhere. I think we should try and find a way to get these two back to Mr. R.
Yes, well, the difference between a regular sky coach and one flown by Pegasi is pretty sure they don't listen too well to other people. Maybe Byron can fly it, but he looks over to Sassafras and smiles. God, do I love fussiness of those two. We're gonna have to get him here most likely to get it move.
Or it's our getaway car.
Siegfried and
Byron.
Zara, you are both hearing a strange whirring noise coming from the other side of the wall. Sort of like
Yeah.
a rhythmic. And like the sound travels closer to the wall and then erratically travels a few feet in another direction. And you just keep hearing this rhythmic whirling noise. Like a very steady.
Yeah, I don't know if we should be standing here much longer.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And
I
Zara,
kinda go
it
up-
sounds very familiar.
And yeah, guys, that really sounds like a nimble ride. So, yeah.
It sounds exactly like the flying turrets that you encountered on the bridge when you and Nicholas were attacked.
I think if we're going to kick down the door, this would be a good time.
Why don't we try to stealth it?
Go for it.
So would you all like to attempt to go in this place? Or are you knocking on the door? What are you doing?
We should probably step back and maybe observe.
Why don't we walk around the building,
Yeah.
see if there's
Yeah,
any
why-
other entrances?
We seem to underplan. I think that we need to at least look around since we can't catch the guy. He's already here. I think we need to come with a plan, guys.
Well, I mean, do we have time? I mean, there's this strange noise emanating, and I have no idea what it is. But it doesn't sound too friendly, and it's definitely, I feel like, from the outside.
Well, step away from the wall. I'm gonna go into stealth. Or start walking.
The door pushes out towards you all a little bit, and you hear this horrible growling and barking coming from the other side. Something large on the other side. And then after a moment, you no longer see the double doors bowing out. But you continue to hear barking in the distance within the compound.
All right, Nick, assassination mode.
And you said, Byron, you wanted to go around the entire compound?
Yeah, see if there's any other doors.
Okay.
If there's windows that we can see.
You can totally walk around the entire compound. You can see that over the wall you see a large building on the northwestern, western, and southern parts of the dividing wall. You can see the heavily fortified wall over which you see the large manor proper, and then there seems to be an open area towards the northeastern sections of the compound and the eastern section. And then if you spent several minutes walking the circumference of the compound, you found what appears to be a large section, what appears to be a large house, not quite house, more like almost like a fancy looking barn with a set of doors wide enough for a carriage to fit through. And they're currently closed. But you did not see any windows on the ground floor or anywhere near the wall all the way around. Other than the double doors that you all found here on the northern side of the compound wall, and the other set of doors that you found on the southeastern section of the wall. Those were the only entrances that you observed, or windows for that matter. at least from the ground floor.
What time of the day?
Zito's gonna cast his Find Familiar spell. And he's gonna call forth his familiar final.
I would say that right now it is currently 11 a.m. And you're casting a Find Familiar spell?
Yeah, I'm finally bringing out my familiar.
Okay, and what does your familiar look like when it materializes?
When it materializes, it's like a green ghostly color that sort of looks like a raven, but every time you try and get a look at it, it kind of starts to shift and change into some sort of bird-like shape.
So the shifting fey creature flutters its wings and regards you and is now perched on your arm.
And so I'll send my familiar up into the air, and I'll try and see if I can get an aerial view through its eyes.
Okay. The bird flutters away and arcs up into the air and over the compound. And looking through its eyes, you can see a large compound with a couple of side houses. It looks like a smaller, off of the main manor, which appears to be only 2 stories tall. You see a smaller house, almost like possibly like a guest house that's attached to it. And then about 25, 30 feet away from that, you see the large barn or servant house that was described to you by Byron. And you see what looks like a gentleman walking around the grounds, and he is currently holding 2 large dogs. And he's guiding them along the circumference, the edges of the walls. And you also see several constructs, flying constructs, small, about the size of a child's, a little bit larger than a cantaloupe. And they are hovering and zipping over the yard in various areas, very erratically moving about the yard. Some of them are stationary. A few of them are sort of zipping in and out of the tree cover. Another seems to be moving along the edges of the house and drifting from ground level to second level and then back, and then as if it's gazing into windows. It turns, the front of it turns to look at the windows.
Zito's gonna call the familiar back to him, and he's gonna exit, or he's gonna go back to his normal vision.
Make a stealth check. Oh, okay, good to know.
Guys, I don't think we're gonna get anywhere close to penetrating beyond these walls. There's guard dogs, there's some sort of strange machines, and a whole bunch of other things that are built to protect this, whatever this manor is. I think we should come back another time with a plan.
Siegfried and Zara, you hear a very muffled but distinct sound of glass breaking from somewhere beyond the compound wall. And you can hear what sounds like men shouting. But you can't quite make out what they're saying.
Someone's shouting about something. I can't make it out though.
Yeah, neither can I. I can't make it out either.
All right. As you're all sort of hovering not too far away from the compound, you all see what looks like a couple of constables that are walking along the road, the main road, and they seem to take an interest in you and begin walking towards you all. Lovely day, isn't it?
One might call it that.
Oh, it's a fine group of individuals such as yourself doing around here this time of day.
We were sent to collect our friend's cart here.
Oh, and the constable looks at the cart and says, "Oh, lost the wheel there. That's a shame. Well, I assume you've made arrangements to have this removed from the street. You know it is a crime to leave a vehicle outside of a manor, especially a manor belonging to a member of the 60.
We have not made arrangements yet, but we are currently working on it.
I was going to say it's also a crime for someone to steal a cart and leave it in front of one of the 60s manors as well. And I look at Nick just baffled that he's for once not doing anything.
Well, that is a very serious charge. Do you have a formal complaint? Have you contacted the watch yet? Or is this the first time that you are discovering it yourself?
Well, we were here on words of a note that we found on some people that attacked us, and we actually were simply here if we could ask them if they knew anything about that.
And you mean to ask who exactly?
Well, just anyone if they've seen anything suspicious. I mean, we actually were talking to the Inquisitor,
Suspicious?
and they said...
You mean like you mean like a large group of mercenaries standing outside of a manor?
A large group that works with the Inquisitors, who just happen to have a note that says the manor's name exactly on it.
Let me see this note. And he is now moving a little closer to you, and his hand is now on his little cudgel, his little truncheon on his side. And the other constable is looking at you now, sort of warily.
I hand him the note.
Okay. He takes the note from you, and he looks at it. And sort of like rubs his fingers together and looks at the paper, examines it. This is a serious charge, sir. You said you found this on individuals that attacked you.
Yes, the individuals actually are the ones that attacked the owner of that coach.
Well, I think this is something that you want to leave to the watch. We'll make an inquiry. Why don't you let us have it? We'll take it.
That's what we were thinking before you two showed up. We were just trying to figure out a way we can get our coach here out of here.
Well, if you wait here, we'll go make a formal inquiry.
Yes, also, I believe we just heard crashing glass on the other side, so it should be a good idea to also check to make sure everyone there is alright as well.
And he said, "Good Lord, you heard signs of struggle."
I don't know struggle, it's just breaking glass. It could have easily been someone throwing something or dropping something. I just know I heard a crash.
And he immediately takes out a stone, a sending stone. He says, "Station 15. We're going to need a few more down here. Seems to be a bit of business down at the Grailhund Manor. We need to take a look. We'll make first contact. If you will just stand back and let us do our jobs." And he begins heading towards the double doors on the northern wall. And
During this time... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
I want to pop out and introduce myself. Hello, I'm Nicholas. I'm Inquisitor.
that's all fine and good, sir. If you'll just stand back for a moment while I investigate this. We'll be back with you in a moment. And he sort of dismissively turns away from you and begins heading towards the double doors.
I'm gonna follow him and motion for everybody else to follow.
The other constable now puts his hand up to you, Nicholas, and he says, "Please, stand back and let us do our work. Let us do our job."
How many of them is it?
I'm
now-
an inquisitor.
Right now, there's 2 constables.
We have a
And,
lot of witnesses around.
there's plenty of people, like, within, about 100 yards, there's plenty of individuals finely dressed, moving about. You see a couple of carriages moving through the area, very fine-looking carriages with men and women sitting on the top, moving about the area. There's a beautiful, wide, marbled courtyard with a large statue in the center of what looks like an elven man and woman standing, both of them holding their arms up in the air and touching fingertips.
So while all
I
this
use
is happening,
I use Messenger to whisper to Samael just to say, we should probably withdraw. Don't have the needs right now to break into something like this, especially if there's going to be constable.
That's fine. Let's go ahead and make it about the carriage instead of the building itself.
And
I'm just saying we should leave.
No,
The other-
y'all should leave. I'll make a scene and let y'all leave.
the other constable is now pressing a summoning panel, which is on the side, and you all hear a loud chiming noise. And you can hear the sound of those large dogs are now barking. And the doors bow out a little bit, and then a little tiny little sliding slot opens up. And you hear a gruff voice from the other side saying, "Oi, what you want?" "Sir, the watch. Apparently there's a bit of a scuffle inside. Are you aware of this?" "No scuffle here. Go away. No visitors." And he slides the thing closed. Constable
Yeah,
sort
you
of
heard him, paycheck.
looks at his partner and turns around, takes his truncheon and is now beats it on the door, leaving a mark, and says, "You open up this damn door now. I will not ask again. If I have to ask again, I'll have 20 men out here." And you hear the sliding locking mechanism is now being released. And you also hear a sound of like a really quick and that fluttering noise that you had been hearing this whole time ceases and seems to scatter from the other side of the wall. You can no longer hear that undulating, twirling noise. And the door begins to creak open, and you see these massive mastiffs and this half-orc man who is holding them at bay. And they both just start barking like mad. And the constable says, "Control your beasts. We need to speak to the lady and the lord of the manor." And the man just sort of eyes the constables for a moment, and then he looks over their shoulders towards the rest of you and sort of like clocks each and every one of you that he can see. And he
I
says,
make a rude gesture.
"Very well, come on in." And he steps back, and the constables begin heading into the compound, and the doors slide shut, and you hear the locking mechanism once again is falling into place. And you can hear muffled sounds of conversation from the other side, is sort of like as it begins to trail away, and you can hear the growls of the large dogs starting to fade away as well. And
All right, let's go in.
who would like to roll perception check?
so I can do that. I mean, passive 14. Huh?
There's a loud booming noise coming from within the manor somewhere, and you hear shouting now, much louder. All of you can now hear it going from somewhere within the manor.
Well, of course we can. I just kicked in the front door.
Are you kicking in the front door?
Of course I am.
Okay. As you kick in the front door, make a strength athletics check for me, please. You can also just attack the door.
He breaks his foot.
It wasn't
Somehow.
that bad.
You can feel that the locking mechanism is very, very sturdy on the other side, and you are repulsed from the door.
But that's okay. Let me get my warhammer out and try this again.
Okay, go for it.
And how do you want me to attack with that?
Just make an attack roll, and I'll tell you what happens. Okay, you definitely hit it. And the locking mechanism on the other side, you hear a loud clang, crash, and the door goes wide open. And from the other side, you see the beautiful courtyard, and you see the constables are now laying prone on the ground in front of these double doors. And you see that this half-orc man has a blade out, and he is extracting his longsword from the back of one of the constables and wiping the blood off. And he turns around, and with his other hand, he lets loose the chains, and the giant mastiffs come running towards you. And
Oh, thank
that's
God.
that's where we're going to end the session for today.
But wait, somehow appears behind him and says, "Omayawa Mua Shindaru."
Nani?